Robert Whittaker has officially stepped forward and called out Dricus du Plessis, making it clear that he wants another crack at the South African contender. This bold move comes just weeks after du Plessis suffered a crushing defeat to Khamzat Chimaev, a loss that completely shook up the middleweight division and forced the UFC landscape into a new direction. With no chance of securing an immediate rematch against the champion, attention quickly shifted to the question, who would du Plessis face? Out of all the top contenders, it is Robert Whittaker who has stepped up and is actively calling for the fight. In a recent interview with Submission Radio, Whittaker explained why this fight makes so much sense to him. Reflecting on their first meeting, he admitted that he never really had the opportunity to get going before the fight was stopped. Du Plessis caught him early, leading to a knockout that shocked fans around the world. For Whittaker, however, it wasn't just another loss, it created what he described as unfinished business. Fans didn't get to see the full scope of what he brings to the table, and Whittaker wants to give them a much better showing this time around. More importantly, he feels a strong personal drive to prove that he can perform at his absolute best against du Plessis. Whittaker went on to emphasize that his goals inside the octagon have shifted slightly as he progresses further into his career. He acknowledged that he only has a handful of fights left at the elite level, which makes every matchup more meaningful than ever before. He is no longer chasing fights simply for the sake of staying active. Instead, he is being intentional about the opponents he chooses. For Whittaker, every fight from this point forward must have a purpose, whether that's redemption, legacy, or positioning himself closer to another title shot. The middleweight division, as always, is filled with opportunities. Doors are constantly opening and closing as fighters rise and fall in the rankings. Despite that, Whittaker's eyes remain locked on meaningful fights that push him toward his ultimate goal. Facing du Plessis again fits that vision perfectly. It's not just about revenge, it's about demonstrating to himself, to du Plessis, and to the fans that the Reaper is still one of the most dangerous and complete fighters in the division. Beyond du Plessis, Whittaker also addressed the ongoing chatter surrounding Brazilian contender Caio Borralho. Borralho has suggested that Whittaker turn down a fight with him and instead opted to face Roman Dolidze RDR. Whittaker, however, set the record straight. He insisted that he was never actually offered Borralho in the first place. If that matchup had been presented to him, Whittaker said he would have gladly taken it without hesitation. He clarified that there is no personal animosity toward Borralho and speculated that perhaps misinformation had been passed along to the Brazilian, but he strongly dismissed any notion that he ducked the fight. With the air cleared, Whittaker's intentions are obvious. He wants to face du Plessis again, he wants to redeem that first loss, erase the doubts that linger, and remind the world why he has long been considered one of the most dangerous middleweights on the planet. For Whittaker, this isn't just another fight, it's about pride, legacy, and finishing his career on his own terms. Move on to another news. For the first time since 2019, Tony Ferguson is officially back in the win column. After years of setbacks and doubt, El Kooky has reignited the spark that once made him one of the most feared names in combat sports. Following an 8-fight losing streak inside the UFC in a period where many believed his career was over, Ferguson shocked the world this past weekend by making his boxing debut and emerging victorious. It was more than just a win. For fans, it was a reminder of the unique aura that made Ferguson such a beloved figure, his relentless spirit, his unshakable confidence, and his ability to rise from the ashes when few believed in him. The victory brought new momentum and immediately raised questions about what comes next for the 39-year-old veteran. True to form, Ferguson wasted no time making bold statements about his future. When asked about potential opponents, he turned his attention to two names that have defined much of his MMA career, Conor McGregor and Khabib Nurmagomedov. With classic Ferguson intensity, he declared that both McGregor and Khabib were scared to death of him. "That dude doesn't want to fight me," Ferguson said bluntly when speaking about McGregor. Same thing with Khabib. "Those are the two fighters I've always wanted, and I've got a dossier on both of them. That scares the hell out of them. They don't want any part of it, but if they do, we'll find a way to make it happen." It was a vintage Ferguson moment, fearless, brash, and unapologetically confident. The timing was interesting too because McGregor's longtime friend and training partner, Dylan Danis, was in attendance and heard Ferguson's comments firsthand. Afterward, Danis attempted to downplay the call-out, making it clear that McGregor had no interest in the matchup. "I like Tony a lot," Danis said. "He won tonight, but I don't think that's the path Conor wants to take. To be real, Conor doesn't want to get hurt, and he doesn't need that fight. But I respect Tony, he's my boy, one of my brothers. Still, that matchup just doesn't make sense." Yet Ferguson doubled down, pointing to his long history in the sport and the ways both McGregor and Khabib once studied his unique training methods when they shared management. "They knew how I trained, where I trained, and they tried to copy it," Ferguson explained. But it never worked for them. They knew how dangerous I am when I put it all together. I'm the guy with the red lipstick who just gets in there. I'm a sniper when it comes to fighting. It was classic Ferguson, an unpredictable mix of bravado, intensity, and eccentricity. His boxing debut didn't just give him a much-needed win, it reignited his belief that he still belongs on the biggest stages of combat sports. For fans, the idea of Ferguson versus McGregor in a boxing ring is intriguing. Two legends of MMA, both with passionate fan bases and fiery personalities, colliding under a new rule set would generate massive attention. Whether or not the fight ever materializes remains to be seen. But one thing is clear, Tony Ferguson isn't done. After years of setbacks, he's hungry again, and he's determined to keep making noise in combat sports. Tony Ferguson is back, and he wants the world to know it. Move on to another news. The UFC has officially announced a blockbuster welterweight title fight that is already sending shockwaves through the MMA community. Just a few days ago, the promotion revealed that reigning champion Jack Della Maddalena (JDM) will make his very first title defense against none other than Islam Makhachev, the former lightweight king who has vacated his belt to pursue glory in the welterweight division. This high-stakes showdown will headline UFC 322 on November 15th at Madison Square Garden in New York City, one of the most iconic arenas in all of combat sports. The announcement has set the stage for a massive event, and anticipation is already building to fever-pitch levels. Fans and analysts alike recognize this as one of the most intriguing stylistic clashes of the year. From the outset, the odds makers and analysts have placed JDM in the underdog role. Despite holding the belt, many believe his chances of retaining it are slim when faced with the grappling-heavy style of Makhachev. The reason is simple: wrestling. Islam's suffocating grappling and relentless pressure have been nightmares for every opponent he has faced in the lightweight division. Now, as he moves up to welterweight, many expect those same tools to be equally effective, if not more so, against larger opposition. His chain wrestling, suffocating top control, and ability to dictate the pace are widely seen as the X factors of this fight. One fighter who has weighed in on this matchup is former interim welterweight champion Colby Covington. Never one to mince words, Covington gave his prediction during a recent appearance on Helen Sports. He acknowledged that while Makhachev will be the smaller man physically inside the cage, his skill set makes him incredibly dangerous. Islam is a lightweight, Covington said. He's going to be a little smaller in the fight, but he's a well-rounded fighter. If he's able to take down JDM and control him, he could definitely get the job done. But it's going to be interesting to see how the size difference plays out. Covington concluded by admitting that the odds favor Makhachev, and he felt compelled to side with them. Covington's assessment is in line with what fans have seen throughout Makhachev's career. Time and time again, Islam has imposed his style on strikers, submission specialists, and even well-rounded fighters, neutralizing their weapons and suffocating their offense. If he can apply that same blueprint against JDM, it could indeed be a long night for the Australian champion. That said, writing off Jack Della Maddalena would be a mistake. JDM has carved out his reputation with sharp boxing, brutal body shots, and relentless pressure that has broken some of the division's most durable fighters. His combination of precision striking and volume has overwhelmed high-level opponents, and stepping into his first title defense on such a grand stage will no doubt fuel his motivation. For him, the key will be keeping the fight standing long enough to utilize his striking arsenal. Against a grappler as suffocating as Makhachev, that is easier said than done, but it is far from impossible. While the odds lean heavily toward Islam, MMA remains one of the most unpredictable sports in the world. All it takes is one perfectly timed punch or one defensive adjustment to change the course of a fight. UFC 322 promises to be more than just a title bout. It is a collision of styles, a clash of legacies, and a chance for one fighter to etch his name in history. Whether Makhachev cements himself as a two-division champion or JDM silences the doubters with a defining performance, fans can expect fireworks at Madison Square Garden this November. Move on to another news. Tony Ferguson, one of the most unpredictable and outspoken figures in combat sports, has once again grabbed headlines. Over the weekend, the former UFC interim lightweight champion stepped into a boxing ring in England, competing on the Misfits card against influencer and part-time boxer Salt Poppy. In what was his first professional boxing bout, Ferguson managed to secure a third-round TKO victory, marking his first official win in combat sports since 2019. While the outcome was not without controversy, many fans questioned the referee's handling of the stoppage. The victory was nonetheless a crucial confidence boost for Ferguson, who had been searching for a return to form after a string of losses inside the UFC. Speaking after the bout, Ferguson was in vintage form, not only celebrating his long-awaited win, but also reigniting long-standing rivalries with two of the sport's biggest names, Conor McGregor and Khabib Nurmagomedov. When asked about the possibility of facing McGregor in the boxing ring, Ferguson wasted no time in throwing verbal jabs. "Oh, he's scared of me. That dude doesn't want to fight me," Ferguson declared confidently. "Same thing with that coward Khabib. These are the two fighters that I've always wanted to fight. I've got a dossier on both of them. They're scared to death of me, and they just don't want any part of it. But if they do, then we'll find a way to make it happen." Ferguson's comments reignited speculation about two of the most anticipated what-if fights in modern MMA history. His rivalry with Khabib Nurmagomedov was once the most cursed matchup in UFC history, scheduled and cancelled a staggering 5 times due to injuries, weight-cutting issues, and the global pandemic. Despite years of hype, the fight never materialized before Khabib's retirement in 2020. Ferguson has long maintained that Nurmagomedov avoided facing him at his peak, and his latest comments only added fuel to that narrative. As for McGregor, the Irish superstar has not competed in the octagon since breaking his leg against Dustin Poirier in 2021. Despite being linked to numerous comeback fights, his return remains uncertain. Ferguson's call-out adds another intriguing storyline, though the chances of McGregor agreeing to fight him, especially in boxing, seem slim. Dylan Dennis, a close friend and training partner of McGregor, quickly chimed in after Ferguson's comments, suggesting that while he respects Ferguson, McGregor would likely not entertain the matchup. "I like Tony, but Conor is my boy, one of my brothers," Dennis said. "I don't think that's the path he wants to take." Regardless of whether a showdown with McGregor or Nurmagomedov ever materializes, Ferguson's renewed energy was evident. After years of setbacks, he spoke passionately about feeling resurrected and enjoying the taste of victory once again. He also took the time to show respect to Salt Poppy, praising the influencer's courage for stepping into the ring. "You have a heart of gold, kid," Ferguson said. "It takes balls of steel to do what we did. You have my respect, sir." For Ferguson, this victory represents more than just a win. It is a statement that he is still a force to be reckoned with, both inside the cage and in the ring. Whether he can truly lure McGregor or Nurmagomedov into a fight remains doubtful, but his fighting spirit and willingness to chase the biggest challenges are once again on full display. Division champion or JDM silences the doubters with a defining performance. Fans can expect fireworks at Madison Square Garden this November. Move on to another news. Tom Aspinall's father opens up about the possibility of his son retiring from MMA. Tom Aspinall has quickly risen to become one of the most talked about fighters in the UFC heavyweight division. Known for his speed, precision, and calm demeanor inside the octagon, he has earned both victories and respect. But beyond the spotlight, his family, especially his father, plays a pivotal role in keeping him grounded and reminding him of what truly matters: health, happiness, and life after fighting. In a recent interview, Tom's father spoke candidly about how he views his son's MMA career and why he would not be disappointed if Tom chose to retire from the sport tomorrow. His words reflect the perspective of a father who has watched his son dedicate years of his life to one of the toughest professions in the world. When asked if he and Tom have a shared vision of what making it really means, his father responded with refreshing honesty, "Yeah, when he retires, when he gets out of it healthy, that's all I'm bothered about." For him, success is not defined solely by championship belts, pay-per-view numbers, or headline fights. Instead, it's about ensuring that his son leaves the sport with his well-being intact. In his view, Tom has already achieved enough to step away from MMA with pride. He's made some money now, he could get out of it if he wanted to and do something else. He doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. Yet, as his father explained, Tom still has that competitive fire. Despite having financial stability and a growing legacy, the heavyweight contender wants to continue proving himself on the world stage. His father, who has long been an active part of Tom's journey, supports this ambition but remains practical. "I'm still active enough to keep doing it with him. So when he wants to get out, he can get out. It won't bother me if he packs it in tomorrow." For Tom's father, their shared experiences go far beyond the cage. Fighting for them is just one chapter in a much larger story. He emphasized that if Tom chose to retire today, they would simply shift their focus to other meaningful parts of life. "It's just what we do together. If he stops, we'll find something else to do. He's got 3 kids, and there's loads of stuff to do with them." there's still so much life ahead. This perspective highlights the delicate balance between pursuing greatness and recognizing the importance of family and long-term health. In the brutal world of combat sports, too many fighters remain in competition long after their prime, often at the expense of their physical and mental well-being. But Tom's father makes it clear that for him, the priority is ensuring that his son leaves the sport whole and ready to embrace the next phase of life. While fans and pundits eagerly speculate about Tom Aspinall's future, whether it be fighting for undisputed gold or facing legends of the heavyweight division, his father's words serve as a grounding reminder. At the end of the day, championships and accolades are temporary, but health, family, and the ability to enjoy life outside of the cage are what truly matter. For Tom Aspinall, the journey may still be unfolding inside the octagon, but when the time comes to step away, it's clear that he will have the unwavering support of his family, and for his father, that day, whenever it arrives, will be the real definition of victory.